Last year, my channel surpassed 10 million views, and coincidentally, I have also been producing content for YouTube for exactly 10 years. So in this video, I'd like to share with you the top 8 lessons that I learned doing YouTube for the past 10 years. Now, to start off with, I think the most important lesson that everybody has to learn when it comes to YouTube is that this can take an awful lot of time. Now, by this I don't necessarily mean that the entire process of producing videos is very time consuming, which it certainly is, but I mean that it can take quite a long time for a channel to start taking off. For instance, for the first 5 years of being on YouTube, I only got 1.5 million views, over more than 160 videos that is, and I only earned a measly $500. It should be noted that I only started to monetize my content roughly 4 years into my YouTube journey. But still, my point is, in half of the time that I've been on YouTube, I have only amassed roughly 10% of the views that my whole channel got during the whole 10 years. So if you also want to get into YouTube, then don't be discouraged if you're not taking off immediately. More often than not, this is just not going to happen overnight, and you really have to invest a lot of time before you'll start seeing a meaningful increase in views and subscribers. For some, this might happen after a few months, and for others, like me, it might happen only after 8 years. Moving on to lesson number 2, which is probably the reason why most of you actually clicked on this video, and that is how much money can you make on YouTube? Or more broadly speaking, how much money did I earn for these 10 million views on my channel? And the answer is $20,000. Now, as I mentioned previously, during the first 4 years of being on YouTube, I didn't actually monetize my videos, and therefore we're only talking about 9.3 million views here. But if we go over to the RPM, which is the revenue per mil, or how much revenue you're actually getting per 1,000 views, then you can see that in my niche, which is gaming/tech, this amounts to $2.20. Now, if you compare this to some other YouTubers, for instance Ali Abdaal, who has actually put up a very similar video to the one you're watching right now, he also talked about how much money he earned for a video that got 10 million views. You can see that his number is roughly 10 times higher. So he actually got roughly $200,000 on that one single video that made 10 million views. And the reason for this insane difference between my revenue and his revenue is because I produce content for gaming and tech, whereas he was making a video on financial advice. So the hard answer to the question that I started this segment with, which is how much can you expect to earn from YouTube, is it very much depends on the topic that you're covering. Unfortunately, I can't really give you a very good breakdown of how much the different niches actually earn. This would be a completely different video, and if you're interested in that, then I could definitely do something like that where I kind of break down the RPM numbers that I'm seeing from other YouTubers and kind of gather more than just one example, because that's not very representative. But what I can show you is what happened to my channel's CPM last year when I started to exclusively cover gaming content. So except for this one video on Caldera PC settings, all of the content that I produced during the first part of 2022 was tech-related content. And you can see that the CPM is around $11. Now, in October 2022, Modern Warfare 2 launched, where I started to produce basically only gameplay content. And you can see how the CPM completely tanked. It went down to roughly $6 or even $5 per 1,000 views. And that is the CPM, mind you not. If you look at what I actually earned from that, you can see that it went down to maybe $1.50. So my experience supports the fact that gaming content really doesn't pay a lot. And the reason for that is that gaming content is usually watched by people that don't earn too much, they're usually much younger, they don't have an awful lot of budget to actually buy things, whereas the other extreme of things would be financial advice, which is usually watched by much older people that have more money at their disposal, and therefore the ads that are shown before those videos actually pay much more than the ads that are shown before a gaming related content piece. My lesson number 3 would be that besides just purely the type of content that you produce, another factor which is crucially important when it comes to how much money you get to take home at the end of each month is the type of audience that you cater your content for. So say for instance, I produce a lot of tech-related tutorials, and a lot of tech-related or tech-interested people that watch my videos probably know about ad blockers and have ad blockers installed. And I can even prove this point because if we look at the CPM, you can see that this is much higher than the RPM. Now that makes sense because there is a 55 and 45% split. However, in that case, you should only see like the RPM being half of the CPM, right? No, that's not the case, because the CPM is only all the views that are actually monetized, whereas the RPM is in relation to all 1,000 views. And that means if you have a very high fraction of people with ad blockers, then your RPM is going to be much lower than those 55%. Now in my case, I have a CPM of $9, whereas my RPM is only $2. It should be roughly $5 if all of the views that I'm getting on my channel would be monetized. So I guess you can say that more than half of the people that watch my content actually have ad blockers installed, which means that I'm losing roughly 50% of the money that I could be making if ad blockers weren't a thing. Moving on to lesson number 4, which is the most lucrative window within a given year. And this is actually answered pretty easily. The most lucrative time of the year is between October and December, and the reason for that is that this is the holiday season, it's when people are shopping for gifts, and it's when people are spending most of their money. And therefore this is also the time where advertisers pay most for the ads shown in front of your YouTube videos. You can even very nicely see this during the year 2020. When we look at the estimated revenue, I earned roughly $20 for every day. It's very stable. However, if we look at the RPM, so how much money I earned per 1,000 views, you can see how this steadily increases until roughly December. Now within this point, another thing that I kind of want to mention is that if you kind of want to pad these months that aren't very lucrative on YouTube, then you probably need to get a sponsor. Having sponsors on your videos is just super nice because it doesn't matter how much ads are being shown in front of a video, or how many ad blockers are installed, or what kind of niche you're kind of releasing your video in, you'll always get exactly what you have in your sponsor contract. And that's actually maybe another thing that I should incorporate into my channel more, so do as I say and not as I do, because I don't like to kind of promote brands that I'm not fully on board with, but that's more a personal problem. If you want to be lucrative on YouTube, produce a lot of videos at the end of the year and get sponsor deals. Now, lesson number 5 is a pretty straightforward lesson that you've probably heard by many other YouTubers, and that is that consistency is key. Now, while this is actually very true, there is one more very important piece to consistency, and that is timing. You can produce the best video on a topic that just isn't very interesting to many people and nobody's going to watch it, whereas you can invest much less time in a very quick video that a lot of people are in that moment very interested in, and it will completely explode. That's actually what happened to a few of my videos. So just after the game released, I produced 2 content pieces on how to kind of improve performance and what the best driver was. And you can see that the views completely exploded, like up to 30,000 views a day. And then I produced other videos on topics that weren't extremely relevant, and you can see it basically makes no difference whether or not I had produced this video here. Same for these here. Nobody cared about the topic at that time, and therefore it didn't really make much of a kind of peak in terms of viewership. Lesson number 6 very nicely follows the last one in terms of getting your video watched a lot, and that is how to actually target your video such that it is ranked as high as possible in the YouTube search. And actually this is one of the key aspects where I think I have the most expertise, because if we look at how viewers find my videos, then we can see that 45% of people watching my content actually come through the YouTube search. Now, the way to do this is actually fairly straightforward, and I'm going to demonstrate this using one of my videos that I have managed to rank at the highest position using a very simple keyword, which is fixed stuttering in MW2. Now, in order to perfectly target your videos, you probably also want to get some extensions like vidIQ that shows you the volume and competition of a certain search string. And I could probably do an entire video on how I target my videos, but just very briefly, what I usually do is I search for certain target keywords like fixed stuttering in MW2, I look at the volume that this produces, then I compare it to something like Modern Warfare 2, and I see, okay, well, this actually performs even better. And then I craft my video title and video description in order to contain most of these keywords that people might be typing into the YouTube search. And then the final most important piece of advice I can give you is to actually mention these keywords in the first maybe 20 to 30 seconds of your video. So before even starting recording your videos, it is extremely important to do a keyword search for the specific tags that you're trying to target and try to figure out which are the ones that are probably driving the most views in this area. Moving on to lesson number 7, which is once again very tightly coupled to the previous one, and that is about tags. Now, I'm gonna be 100% honest here with you guys. I'm not sure if I actually am allowed to say this, but tags are basically completely useless. And this is information that I got from YouTube Direct, and they actually mentioned to me that tags really don't make a difference anymore. I personally have been targeting my videos using tags a lot. I try to find the perfect tags in order for search results to point to my video, but I realized that the description and what you see in the first 30 seconds is so much more important than what you have in your tags that you might as well just leave it away. You can actually see this in a lot of popular videos that have like only 2 or 3 tags, basically the channel name and then maybe one keyword from that video. So don't waste your valuable time on tags, it's not going to make much of a difference. And finally, last but definitely not least, lesson number 8 is to drop your cringy outro. Now I know I'm guilty of this myself. I have a very nice After Effects animated outro where you can see like recommended video and what's up next and subscribe here with some nice music. However, this is exactly the opposite of what you should be doing and how to actually get more people to watch your content or click on these end screen elements. Because by the time people notice you're starting to get into your closer, they're gonna click off your video. So what you should instead do is to think about one video that is extremely relevant to the viewer that is watching the video that they're currently watching, and then explicitly advertising it at the end of your video. So for instance, since you're watching this video, you're most likely also going to be interested in how much money I made in 2020 when I only had half the subscribers that I have today. If you like this video, then click this button to subscribe to see more videos like this. But until then, thank you so much for watching, have a wonderful day, and I'll see you guys in the next video.